Hey you, it's CovertGoBlue, and today we're going to talk about Aftermath. The aftermath of Aftermath, because Aftermath might be one of the most disastrous releases that I can remember on almost every metric but one. Might be the one that really matters. You guys have watched the content lately, and I can give you a lot from the content creator perspective of playing with Aftermath in Standard. But now there have been competitive results. The cards have been competitive legal. There have been tournaments where the cards could be used, and the results are not looking good for Aftermath. Before we dive into that, just a quick note about what it's like making content with Aftermath. This is a very small set, so right out of the gate, it needs to have some amount of exciting cards that shake up a format. It's being introduced to a very large standard format, although not the largest it can and will be in the future, thanks to the recent announcement, but already a large and saturated standard format. So the cards need to be very good to have impact, and apparently that was asking a bit too much. You guys watching the content, you leave comments, you have eyes, you have brains, and you've noticed how the content has been going. There were about 3 cards that I would say legitimately push an archetype or an idea in Standard that you can try. You can name them right now. Obnixilis and All Will Be One is a combo. Of course, everybody's going to do that, and they did. Everybody has done that combo now. All those videos came out at about the same time. You guys like to make fun of when content creators release the same videos at about the same time. Well, it has been peak for that because there just aren't that many videos to make with these cards. So Obnixilis, All Will Be One. Coppercoat Vanguard goes in soldiers, goes in humans. Good little anthem card. Do you need it in any of those decks? I don't know, but it works in them. And Calyx makes the enchantment deck a bit more dangerous and a very hard hitter indeed. Once you're done with that, I mean, I think that the rest of the set is completely forgettable. It's like a bulk rare bin for Standard, and that is not good for a set that drops like kind of an Aftermath style set. I do have some experience with this type of product. I used them in Shadowverse. Shadowverse was actually pretty good at this. They would release a large set, people would play with the new cards, and then a few, like, I don't remember, I think it was like a month later, they'd release like a very tiny supplemental set, much like Aftermath, but the cards would be good. Like, they would really expand on the archetypes that were already presented and take some of the decks that were like tier 3 and push them to tier 1 until the next set release. So they really did change things up. So if you loved Phyrexian tribal synergies, but then the deck didn't get there, if this were Shadowverse and if this were what we hoped Aftermath would be, this set would come out with some sick Phyrexians, and now your Phyrexian deck that you had wanted to be good suddenly is good, and you get to play that for a few months before more new cards are introduced. Instead, what we seem to have is a lot of filler, and now it's not just me as a let me again give you a little more like perspective to the content creation side of this, because some of you have left comments on my video that I don't seem happy. Well, let me tell you what a day of making Aftermath content is like. Pick a card that looks cool. All right, pick any of them on this list, on this Aftermath list, build a deck around it, and go play that deck for a while and try to get some good looking, what you would call camera quality experience games, either where you lose in close and interesting fashion or where you win in some kind of fashion. And you find out very quickly that that is not that easy. Maybe I try a deck sometimes I try it for over an hour, give up, move on to another deck, try that one for over an hour, give up, move on to another deck. Well, now I've used up all the decks that I brewed yesterday that I thought would be interesting with the new cards. Now I've got to make a new deck. And so I just build something with a mono white type shell, and I throw a Breach the Multiverse in it, and I call it a deck, and I make a video. Sometimes getting a little something is a lot better than absolutely nothing, but not by much. So I understand where some of the frustration you guys have is coming from, that a lot of my decks have seemed samey. Well, me too. I am also deeply frustrated with that. I could play kind of the same control shells I play. I sometimes do when I get too frustrated. And therein lies point number 2 that's been hard for me. Me personally, I try to play all the different types at some point for the channel, but those of you who have watched the channel for a long time know where I lean. I lean towards control. I try to be the deck that is anti the meta deck, whatever that is at the time. Currently in best of one, it's still very much mono red soldiers. I see a lot more mono blue lately, and Rakdos is certainly around, but I try to be anti those decks and it usually comes from a control angle. I try to shut those decks down. I think that's something you guys have learned to enjoy about me. They don't make control cards anymore. This set has, I think, none. A Cosmic Rebirth is as close as it comes, and that's just a recursion spell, instant speed, gain some life. Maybe you guys consider it a control card because it is an instant. There's nothing here that I like to play. Sure, I can make another pile of like equipment with Nahiri. We can do that. We can make another human pile, and I have Jarina, Dauntless General. Yeah, we can do that. We can take any legendary and put it in a deck with Thalia and Brutal Cathar and Skrelv and call it X Legends. Like, we can do all these things. And some of these strategies will work out, but it's all kind of the same. And it all is on rails with a few specific cards driving the core. Like I said, Skrelv and Thalia make it so that every legendary creature that's good at attacking should be in a core with Skrelv and Thalia. Why wouldn't you? Because if you curve like that, the opponent often just does not win. But it's not just me ranting this time, although that is what you've heard for a while. And maybe I should have said this earlier in the video, because if you're still with me, you might be starting to get worn down. I do hate being negative. I love Magic. I like being positive about Magic. I want you to have a good Magic experience. But things got even worse this weekend, because there are results, standard competitive results from Magic the Gathering Online. The standard challenges, which they are places where you can play for prizes and qualifications for big events on Magic the Gathering Online. It is where competitive standard lives. I still pay attention to it. I find it interesting. And I wasn't sure when I started looking at these results. I was like, am I crazy? Because maybe Aftermath isn't even legal. But, you look at this, it's a Rakdos Breach deck, and this is Toxic, and this is the Ramp deck, the Invasion of Zendikar Ramp deck. But there is not an Aftermath card to be found. In this particular challenge, there are 3. There is a Maniac. If you go all the way down to 11th place, we're looking at the same decks that did the Pro Tour. Exactly the same as before Aftermath released. Maybe a card shuffled here or there. The 4th Duress, the huge meta call, right? If we scroll hard enough and long enough in this particular challenge, there is one absolute mad lad running the new Obnixilis in an anvil shell. There it is. In 18th place, we have 3 copies of Obnixilis Captive Kingpin in Oni called Anvil. I might have missed something in a sideboard somewhere, but from what I can find, this is the only instance of an Aftermath card in the top 32 of this standard challenge. And that's not the only one, because those of you who know your Magic Online stuff know that there are 2 standard challenges every weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday. Well, where do you think we find the new cards in this one? Maybe there is hope in the other standard challenge. Let me show you, because I went through, I might have missed a card here or there in a sideboard, but if I go all the way down to, I think it was like 29 or 31. There we are. Nope, that ain't it. 29, there it is. In 29th place, an absolute mad lad, a maniac, is running a Nahiri Forged in Fury deck. A Boros equipment pile. Godspeed, you went for it. I mean, with the amount of cards that they print for Boros equipment, at some point it has to win a game. So here you go. Everything else it's like Aftermath didn't happen. There is no aftermath of Aftermath. It's Rakdos, it's Soldiers featuring Takesia's Welcome, which is I guess a new way to grind with Rakdos. Very important, I suppose. And it's the Ramp deck. Is that it? There's a ramp meta. There's a soldier pile that has card draw and make disappear in it, so it can counter invoke despair, so it doesn't just lose its Tokasia's Welcome. And yeah, the Rakdos and the ramp. It hurts. It really kind of hurts to see an idea like this go badly. And I don't know if they'll do it again based on these results. And I hope that they do, because I think that the idea is good. I like new cards. I really like new cards like a month or so after set release. I liked that about Alchemy until I saw what they did with Alchemy. And then I was optimistic that Aftermath would give me some of those things that I wanted for Standard that they didn't do well for Alchemy. And it hasn't. But if Aftermath and micro sets like it do return, I think it will be because it actually hit in what you could say is the target market. Welcome to EDH Rec, those who have never seen it. This is a site that pulls together all of the most popular Commander cards and how often they're played, aggregates from several websites. And yeah, Narset Enlightened Exile getting to number 4 on the Commander decks built this last week, which is kind of a big deal. It used to be that new Commanders would always skyrocket to the top of the charts, and it's gone a lot better with March of the Machine and now with Aftermath than it has over the last couple of sets, because it did seem like there was some product fatigue even in the Commander space, where new Commanders just weren't getting built very much. But here we go. Narset ignited some passions of that community and is number 4 on the list. We see that there's still a Precon Commander, the Knight Commander from March of the Machine, hanging out at number 2. And then down here we have Nahiri Forged in Fury at 12 and Omnixilus at 14. So these are the key cards in the set. This is what shows you how the set is doing. It is doing well enough for Commander. They are selling Narsets, Nahiris, and Omnixiluses, all 3 mythic, by the way, for Commander. That might dictate that Wizards of the Coast is seeing the success they actually want from the set, regardless of what they do or don't do to Standard. And that also, I'm happy for Commander. I love Commander. I enjoy playing Commander. I am sad for Standard because it really needs some excitement in it. It needs real control to be possible again. The Standard best of 3 environment needs aggro and control to be potentially successful, and the Standard best of 1 environment just needs something besides just the same creature piles that haven't been adjusted for a long time now. Really depressing. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a creator. Now, there are bans coming. Some of you might have hope for the ban announcement coming up on the 29th. And I do not live to quash and squash your hopes. That is not my intention. I have trouble getting excited about this ban announcement because I don't think that bans can fix it. I've thought through a lot of possibilities, and I am working on a video for this. I'm going to release this video before next week, why these bans probably won't save Standard, and I'll probably remove the probably because that doesn't work in titles. But the amount of cards and the way that they all kind of exist in a parasitic relationship to each other is a little bit gross, and banning any one piece without banning the others, I think, could cause a big problem. And unless we see a mass banning on a scale like we haven't seen since Eldraine, I don't know how you're going to see real churn in this meta. So I am very skeptical that Standard will be fun or interesting this summer. And because of that, you might see more Historic Brawl, because trust me, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot, not Historic Brawl more fun than Standard necessarily, although sometimes that's true. It is a lot more fun when new cards come out to actually get to play with the new cards and figure out how to make them good. And Historic Brawl lets you do that. You can build the best possible Narset Enlightened Exile deck, and you can play some very interesting games and enjoy putting those synergies together. Same with Nahiri, same with Ob, same with all these legendary cards, right? Like almost like there is just a much it's a much lower bar for like how to build an entire like cool sweet historic brawl deck around a commander, and because of the matchmaker, go out and have a good time. It's just more likely, whereas you could bash your head against a wall all day building your Nahiri Forged in Fury deck and just get clowned by mono red and Rakdos over and over and over, and you feel absolutely terrible. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So if I'm playing more historic brawl in the near future, that is why, because I need a standard that is exciting. I need a standard that is interesting. I'm nervous that we may not get it soon. And yeah, got to keep the love for Magic alive. And if they're going to design cards for Commander in Arena, we have Historic Brawl, we may as well use it. I still think it's a great format. Anyway, that is my ramble about Aftermath and its basically lack of impact in the competitive space and where it seems to be making a difference. And let me know what you think in the comments. And hopefully, if you've been a little frustrated with my content for any reasons, hopefully this sheds some light and maybe you understand a little better. Maybe not. I don't know. But let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. You are cool.